So welcome everybody to the call, the meeting, the workshop, the High Achievers Mindset. And we've got 26, 27, 28 people on the call now, maybe others dialing in, but really appreciate your time. Thank you for showing up and participating. It is being recorded, and I'll send you the link to it and the slide deck afterwards as well, so you can refer to it as we go. So just for those who maybe don't know us that well, just a couple of minutes from me first. No sales pitch, but just a couple of minutes from me. This is where we're based. So I'm sat now in a little tiny village called the English called Remmering, but of course it's not. It's incorrect. It's Remerin in French. And we have been here now for about 12 months. It's a little renovation cottage, and one of my neighbours is here. My new neighbours is here. Frank, who's also living in the same village, bizarrely, so welcome along. Our offices are in Luxembourg, just up the road. We're about 40 minutes away from a little place called Schengen, where the agreement was signed, not by the UK, but by everybody else. Offices in Luxembourg, offices in the UK over in Swindon as well. And we work with clients all over the world. And maybe as you can see from this conversation, it's fabulous to work with so many international clients and people. We work with people now in 34 countries all over the world. And that's business coaching, training and development, that type of thing. A lot of things via Zoom, but in the old days, we did it via events and workshops and seminars traveling the world as well, which maybe that'll come back again. So that's what we do. That's where we're based. And I thought this would be an interesting subject because one of the questions doing what I do, working with lots of business people all over the world, the question I do get asked a lot, genuinely get asked a lot, is there a pattern of high achievers or successful people? What's the secret sauce? What's the magic bullet? What is it that makes some people successful and others not? And if there was a single thing that I thought it was, then I'd tell you, and then I could retire. But it's not quite that straightforward. So what I've done is I've put together a list, if you like, or the 6 common traits that I've, in my experience, for me, for other people and high achievers that I've worked with over the years. What are the 6 common things that these people share? And it was really difficult to get down to 6 because there's lots of other things that go on as well. What I've attempted to do is boil them all down to these are the 6 that, again, I think every high achiever has these. They have lots of others as well. But if I boil it all the way down, these are the 6 things I see are common for so many people. Now, when I run through them, you may recognize them in yourselves. I know some people on the call, really well. I know these things that they apply to you absolutely. There may be some other ones that are maybe a bit different or a bit unusual. You may want to reflect on them as well. But these are my 6 common traits of high achievers. The first one is just clicking somebody in. Here we go. Canada's darling, excellent. So the first one is that they understand the currency of success. And what I mean by that is that they don't just chase the money. They actually understand what they want success to look like for them, their own currency of success. And what they also understand is that they can write their own script. They can define their own career, their own life, their own business, their own objectives. And they don't worry about what other people are doing. They don't tend to compare themselves with other people. They decide their own path, they stick to it, and away they go. This is a little story of what happened to Lynn and I. We had about 20 odd years ago, we had our own companies over in the UK, for example, and we decided we didn't like what we were doing. And I was about late 30s then, so nearly just over 20 years ago. And life was good. It was okay. We had a nice house, we had nice cars on our holidays, owned our own businesses. Life was good. A couple of boys, 2 boys were doing well as well. But there was something missing. We didn't know quite what it was. And we couldn't really figure out exactly what it was. We looked at what we were doing business-wise, work-wise, and I was working, and Lynn was as well, was working long hours. We had a recruitment business with about 150, 200 people on payroll, and we had a transport company which had about 28 to 30 vehicles, plus freelancers, plus warehouses in 3 locations. It all sounded great on the outside, but it wasn't a lot of fun. And we decided that we wanted to have fun and enjoy what we were doing. So we went out literally one evening for dinner, as you do, and went for a bite to eat, glass of wine, this sort of thing. and sat down and literally on a napkin, we just literally wrote down, interestingly, after a glass of wine, not before, but still, wrote down what did we want life to look like? What did we want for ourselves, our family, our network, our colleagues, our friends, and this sort of thing? What do we want? And we literally wrote down about half a dozen things. And there were things like we want to do what we enjoy doing. I mean, really enjoy doing, not just do things to pay the bills. Work with people we like. That's another key one. Work with people we like. Anybody who's been involved in transport and distribution or warehousing will know it's a pretty rough tumble sort of business. It's good, but it does attract, not every character in the business is lovely, warm and cuddly. Anton will attest to this, I think. There are some fabulous people, but not everybody plays by the same rules, maybe. So we wrote down we want to travel the world. We wanted to live in France. And this has been a dream, a vision, a goal for us from when we were kids. We wrote this one down. We want to live in France and work internationally as well, and only work with people we like. That was the main thing. So we wrote these things down. And then we had no idea how we're going to achieve it. Going from, working we're in Birmingham in the UK, which, love Birmingham, is my hometown. My office was in the shadow of the Aston Villa football ground, and it was interesting to work there. But anyway, how do we go from there to France to working in the US to doing what we do now? That's a sort of a separate story. But the thing is, and I find for a lot of people, when they decide what they want, most people know what they don't want, but they're not really sure about what they do want, and being clear on what they want. And I find this is a common pattern with the people that we work with as clients, but also colleagues and friends and associates of my career as well. They do have this clarity around what they're looking for. And it's not just money. It tends to be lifestyle, life goals. It could be contribution. It could be time. It could be family, whatever they want. They're really clear on what they're looking for. And then they build their business, their career, their lifestyle around it. But they're really clear what success looks like for them. And the interesting thing I found is that when you focus on doing what you want and what you love and what you're interested in and what you're good at, the money tends to show up. It just does, because if you're good at it, you add value, then you tend to attract income and money. So don't focus on the money. It's focus on what you want, what's your currency. And I think this is a key trait of successful high achievers. They know what they want and they stick to it. And it's very rarely just cash. So that's number one. Number two is is cause and effect. I call this cause and effect. What they understand is that they have control. They can do something and it has an effect, a positive effect or negative effect, but they have total responsibility for what they do. They're not a victim of circumstance. They recognize that times might be tough. They recognize that things might not go their own way, but they also recognize that by doing something different or by taking control, by introducing strategies and tactics, they can have a cause and an effect. They can be in control of their own destiny. And this showed up. We work in the UK, and there's a couple of people on the call, I think, here as well, that are martial artists, for example. If you imagine if you're running a martial arts academy and then lockdown happens, the COVID lockdown happens, well, what do? Do you shut your academy because you can't get students into your academy? You can't physically train them. What do? And what happened was, and this is just my experience in the UK, for example, as well, with a lot of martial artists said, we can't do it. We're not going to do it. We can't do anything else. That's it. We're shut. We're closing down. And they just literally shut the business. Other martial artists said, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to figure out a way of doing this, and we're going to take it online, and we're going to go via Zoom. And a lot of the martial artists took all their classes onto Zoom, and they realized they could take control of their destiny and their business and their clients and their customers and students, but they weren't willing to accept that the situation was what it was. They didn't accept the status quo. They didn't accept this imposed reality, and they realized they could do something different, and making a difference into whether it's marketing or customer service or whatever it was, having this level of control and that belief that we can affect things that are in our environment is probably a key trait as well. And this doesn't matter whether you're working within an organization, you have your own business, or whatever it is that you're doing, that core belief that you can influence the environment in which you're operating in is key, because if you believe you can influence it, you can change it. Therefore, if you don't like the environment, you create a new one for yourself. And it really is, and Anton's going to love this, I mentioned this at workshops, but this is Newton's first law of motion. Is an object will not change its motion unless a force acts upon it. Well, guess what? Same in business, same in sales, same in marketing, same with a team, same with leadership, same in personal relationships as well. If you want to change something, well, you've got to do something, because if we don't change it, make a positive effort to change it, it means we are changed as a consequence of our environment. And I don't want to be a consequence of my environment. I want to be leading or influencing my environment. And that belief is really key. So trait number two that I've seen for people who are these high achievers is they make things happen. They don't accept that things can't happen. There's a couple of people that I have this sort of standing joke with a couple of people where they say, well, we can't sell in October, or it's getting close to Christmas now, it's quiet, things go dark, we can't sell between now and Christmas, we can't sell in the new year, all these sort of excuses crop up. We don't have to buy into that. You can sell, you can build and grow and develop and be successful on any day of the year. It's just that belief, that mindset that things can be affected if you accept that you can make be the change you want to see. One of the things I have, for example, real quick, is I have a little sort of bet with myself and Lynn, those who know Lynn, my boss, my wife, is that we get a booking on Christmas Eve, because either it could be a new client, it could be a workshop, it could be something. We make a point of disproving the fact that you can't sell in December, because of course you can. So we get a booking, make sure we get a booking on Christmas Eve, just to to break the spell to a certain extent. So still, anyway, so as I said, there's a conversation going on here with David and Sam about having a boat. Excellent, good news. Welcome, Sam, to the call. So number three then is knowledge is power. And I don't mean just book knowledge, but I think they do understand that knowledge and understanding and keeping the mind alive and vibrant, looking for new ideas, creativity and innovation is key to their success, both individually and as a business as well. And I think a lot of people, they stop learning but they stop taking risks, I think, as they get maybe slightly older. If I think back when I was I left school at 15, took a lot of risks when I was 15 about finding work, finding a job, getting all this sort of thing happening. I'm slightly more risk averse now, but only slightly. I mean, it's just that I'm more scared of falling over, I think. But knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, the risks reduce, because knowledge brings certainty, it brings power, it brings visibility of the future. Then what we do based on knowledge is not quite so risky. When we bought this property, I'm sat in a fabulous little cottage in the middle of France. We bought it almost unseen. But what I didn't realize was when you make an offer on a property in France, if it's accepted, that's it, you're done, you're in pretty much, that's it, away you go. So we made an offer on a property on a Sunday afternoon, and I didn't know much about it, and it's worked out fine, but there's lots of work to do to it. But people become risk averse. They tend to slow down over time if not very careful. They think they don't know enough. Well, the cure for that is knowledge, not just knowledge of business. There's two sides that I work on with people that I see as very, very powerful. And it's what I call the transactional knowledge, strategies, tactics, business systems, and that type of thing. Absolutely critical, fundamental to growing a good business. But the other side of it is what I call transformational. It's mindset, it's beliefs, it's attitudes, it's this type of what is soft skills, if you like, which is a horrible term, but soft skills. Those are the two that combine, and those are where the high achievement comes from, because people understand that with knowledge comes this level of power, and then they become less risk averse. And the number of people I talk to, and a lot of you will understand this, is where people say, I want to do what you do. I want to live in France. I want to live abroad. I want to travel. I want to go and do all these sort of things. And my response is, well, literally, great, off you go for it. What's stopping you? And then comes out all the reasons, all the excuses. Well, I want to wait until this, I want to wait until that, I'm not ready yet, I've got to pay the mortgage off, I've got to get the kids through school, or whatever it is. And all this thing happens because they're thinking too much. So knowledge can be either a great liberator, or it can be a restrictor as well, because if you're thinking too logically all the time, it can actually hold you back. So, get creative with things. I spent an afternoon on Saturday, did a workshop in the morning for a group of entrepreneurial women up in Luxembourg, which was a great bunch of the Luxembourg Chamber. And then in the afternoon, I'd hired out a little music studio, rehearsal room, and me and a couple of guys got together with a set of drums and a couple of guitars, and we just sat there for 3 or 4 hours playing away, playing music. It's great. So knowledge doesn't have to be book knowledge. It can be creative knowledge. Take up painting, take up sculpting, take up anything you like, but this will create this confidence and your ability then to take some risks. And it's really interesting looking at the people who attend, not just these, but other workshops and seminars. The point is, successful high achievers attend seminars or workshops. Or is that true? Are they successful first as a consequence of the workshop, or is it just because they show up that that mindset enables them to be successful? I think actually it's the fact that people are open to ideas, that they attend and participate in all sorts of workshops and learning. Is the attitude that makes them successful, not just the content of the workshop or the seminar. So I need to be careful what I say there, being a trainer and a coach. But actually, you're 2/3 the way there. If you're open to the idea and you participate in learning, doesn't matter what you learn. Almost being open to the idea is a key way forwards as well. So I think knowledge is power. Keep that knowledge, but learn. Look at the things. Don't just go down the academic route. I've done some academic stuff in my time. It was great, but I think learning about some of the other possibilities that has enabled me to do what we do, but I see for other people as well. Stay open is what is the key one as well. Number 3. So number 4. Number 4, really, I think it's a key one. And I think, Anton, you mentioned this briefly earlier on. I might actually, if it's okay, ask you to unmute and just talk about this one. It's called marginal gains. And what I mean by this is high achievers appreciate the fact that success and progress is done in little bite-sized chunks. And going back to the martial arts, for example, I know a number of martial artists will say, we're going to get 100 students this week, sign up 100 students, it's going to be great. Well, okay, brilliant, but then how long will you keep them for? What's the cost? How can you deal with it? What are you going to do? The best martial arts, how to grow a business, is to do it, in my experience, incrementally. Rather than 100 students in 1 week, get 10 students a week over 10 weeks, if you like. Marginal gains. What it means, they also understand that progress comes by understanding different aspects of their business. Maybe to grow, if you want to grow your business, do you need more clients? Not necessarily, no. Maybe you need to keep the ones you've got longer, improve your retention rate or reduce your attrition rate. Maybe look at pricing. Maybe you look at upselling and cross-selling, adding more products to your range. So, Anton, would you mind just sharing? I think it's a fabulous story. Just something you've done, if you don't mind sharing it.
Yeah.
How you going with one of these thin slices you introduced?
So we won a course a couple of months ago with David, and we were tasked with trying to grow our turnover. And obviously, if you grow your turnover, there's a possibility you're actually going to grow your profit margin. So what we put into place was a simple 1% increase on all of our pricing. Now, 1% increase on some pricing may sound not a lot, but if you consider that a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container from China at the moment is $18,000, an extra 1% makes a massive difference. And if you consider that we're already getting the money for that container, if we're increasing the customer's price by 1%, that's going straight onto the bottom line. And we're already seeing a huge benefit in terms of our turnover at the moment is incredible. But obviously, as David will tell you, turnover is for vanity and profit for sanity.
Yes.
And cash is king before anyone else says it. So we're very conscious that we've got a massive or a really good turnover this year because of the high pricing from China, but our margin percentage-wise is actually suffering. Now, our profitability is not suffering because we're still making good amounts of profit, but it could be better. And I think we've now consciously just added on 1%, and 1% to our customers isn't a massive. Sometimes it is literally £5, sometimes it's £50, sometimes it's £500, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the year, if we're making £1,000 extra a month, that's £12,000 extra straight onto the bottom line. So little gain. That's not greedy. It's not it's not sort of pushing our customers over the edge, but certainly we're finding that it is working at the moment for us.
Fabulous. It's a great story. Well done. Good job for
Thank you.
that. Thanks, Anton. And I think the thing is, if you look at your business or your personal life, your career, your personal finances, whatever it is, if you break it down into slices and look at sales, lead generation, conversion rate, pricing, GP, net profit, all these sort of things, and you've probably got 8 or 10 metrics that you can sort of play with, and you can influence each one just by a marginal 1% or 2%, whatever it is, then that's where the benefits really come from. And as Anton was saying, if you put your price up by 1% and nothing else changes, that increased gross profitability goes straight to the bottom line. So it's a big effect on net profitability, small effect on gross, big effect on net. That's this secret of marginal gains. So that's how I think there's a success pattern here, or achievement pattern for understanding this mechanics. So rather than revolutionizing everything, incremental gains, playing the sort of the longer game to a certain extent, but it starts with measuring and understanding what it is you're doing. And there's a book recommendation for this. There's talk about marginal gains. Atomic Habits is a fabulous book. I've got it on my desk somewhere. It's here literally, and I recommend it to clients as well. And what this book describes is literally this: it's sort of thin slicing your work, your time, your patterns of behavior, and then incrementally improving each one. It actually comes from, in my experience, comes from manufacturing, TQM, Toyota, and Nissan, these sort of manufacturers. Yes, thank you. Reminded of the football. Thanks, Anton. But if you look at your quality improvements, TQM, Six Sigma, all these sort of things, they're looking at marginal improvements. And I remember when we went to when I was an engineer back in the old days, we went to a couple of car plants to have a look around to learn what they were up to. We went to the Ford plant, or a Ford plant, all very good, very exciting, very interesting, all this sort of thing. And off we went to a Toyota plant. And in Toyota plant over in the UK, where there again, it was amazing. I love factories are compelling to look at. And a couple of times while we were there, the track stopped. And the lights went on, track stopped, and everybody stood back, and something happened. Then the bell went off, and the track started again. And I said to one of the lead engineers that was looking through the, controlling the flow, I said, we went to Ford, and their track didn't stop. I thought you guys were, your quality and the performance was critical, but your track stopped a couple of times. He said, yeah, what we're doing, he said, we're testing things out, and we're sort of making it so it breaks. And then we try something, run it, then we adjust it. They're looking to incrementally improve, not just the speed of the track, but the quality, the output, and everything that went with it. And they stop the track, redress, try something else, and try it again. They're continually improving, marginally, the improvement. Now, I like my cars. I think Toyota quality is better than Ford quality. Now I'll be open to criticism on that one, I guess. But I've got a Toyota with a Lexus badge on the back. It's brilliant. I've got a Ford as well. It's not quite as brilliant. Love it for different reasons. So marginal gains, but personally, professionally, business-wise, don't go for transformational, revolutionary. Just go for thin slicing. Marginal gains has a dramatic effect. And the trick is then you keep them as well. You keep those gains that you make. And career-wise and personal-wise, the same thing to happen. So number 5 is what I call ferocity. And this is something where it's really, there's a book on this, and you can see on there that it's by Stephen Kotler, The Habits of Ferocity. But I do see this trait in successful CEOs, managers, owners, entrepreneurs, everybody. If you've got this trait of ferocity, it really is like the fighting spirit, if you like. What it really comes down to is the ability for people to automatically and instinctively rise to a challenge. And I see two types of people. Something negative happens and they get crushed by it. They go, oh, that's it, can't do it, life's over, business is no good, this has happened, whatever it is, we can't do it, therefore we're going to shut up shop and capitulate and give in and quit. They go, oh my goodness, they give away too soon. Other people they find a way. They just find a way. They decide, they don't get swayed by it. They have this ferocity of fighting for what they believe in and for what they want to achieve. And for those people, again, back in the transport and distribution days, back in, I think it was in 2000, where the UK had a previous fuel crisis. We had the blockades of the ports and the refineries. You couldn't get fuel. Anton's smiling here, I think, from the logistics and transport side. This is, I think it was 2000, summer of 2000, I think it was. Well, in the summer of 2000, we just opened up another division in our transport company, got a new contract, and we got 25 new vehicles sat in the yard, ready to go. We got a contract for them. We got all the lads there, got a driver and a mate. All the vehicles sat there. So a lot of people sat there, 50 guys, and the 24 vehicles sat there. Couldn't get any fuel. I remember my operations manager was based out of Telford back in the day, and I can remember I was in Birmingham, and he had the fleet. We had the fleet over in Telford, and when it all came on the news about the driver, I think the truckers were blockading all the refineries, couldn't get fuel. And I remember I phoned him, and I said, Bob. I said, Bob, have you seen the news? He went, yeah. I said, right. And I didn't have to say anything. He said, look, he said, we'll sort it. And he was like, okay, great. That was it. And I phoned him back like in the afternoon. How are you getting on? He said, look, I've told you once, I'm going to sort it. Leave me alone. Leave me, get on with it, whatever. Anyway, bless you, he sorted it. Now, other people were panicking and can't do this, you can't do that, can't get fuel. It's horrible, colluding with each other, not making any decisions. Bob got on with it. He had some connections in the area. We didn't use red diesel for Anton. We didn't go down that route. We had opportunities to use red diesel. We didn't do that. We did think about it, but anyway, we didn't use red diesel. What we found out, what Bob did, he had a lot of network of people in the industry, in the sector, and there were certain stations, gas stations, petrol stations that had fuel, some didn't, and he just called in favors. But he was literally on the phone, calling around, sending the vans out, getting them fueled up. And it took about a couple of 3 weeks, I think it was, for it to ease off again. Other transport companies, I know, literally parked up the trucks, couldn't get fuel. They went home, left them to it. There's a shortage of everything in the shops as well. We kept, or bless him, Bob, he kept all our vehicles running. All the lads were fully engaged. We're running every day. It got tight a few times. We got down to running on fumes a few times. But he had this level of ferocity. And we used to call him the honey badger. This is what we used to call him, the honey badger. If you know about animals, the honey badger is it's just not a particularly big animal, but it is ferocious. It will attack and defend itself. It'll go for anything. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. It's relentless. And it's that sort of being relentless in the achievement of goals or pursuits, whatever it is, not restricted by hours or outside restrictions, but just finding a way, being ferocious with it. I think being ferocious with your career, with your business, with your achievements, it's a key driver. A lot of people quit too soon. I think there's actually there's a case where maybe people don't quit soon enough. You have to watch out for that as well. They keep on going when obviously they should have stopped some years ago. But a lot of people, on average, they quit too soon because they find an excuse, they find a reason, they give up, they're not happy with it, and they just say, that can't be done, and they quit. Be like Bob. It's the honey badger syndrome, basically. I recommend the book by Stephen Kotler, The Habit of Ferocity. So it's a great read, but it's a key pattern that I see in people's attitudes and their mindsets that sets them apart from other people. I think I've got it as well. If you think I've got it, Lynn definitely has. You want a ferocious person to deal with. Those people who know Lynn, she's a very tough lady, and she fights for things, and she gets on, and she will just make stuff happen. She'll boil the ocean if she has to. So this is one of, again, another key trait, that if you don't have this level of ferocity, well, then you're going to get beaten by those that do. Basically, other people are going to fight harder than we do, and they're going to come out on top. Can you learn ferocity? Yeah, I think you can. I think any of these traits, I think you can learn it. I think you can develop the skills, but it's something I see is built into a lot of people on sort of day one. It's an attitude, if you like, and it's not particularly attractive attitude. One of the things I was asked, we're putting this together, speaking to a couple of people about this, And they said, is being a good leader, is that an attribute of successful high achievers? Empathetic with people, taking people on the journey, being a supporter of other people. I think these are absolutely very powerful attributes in certain situations, but not everybody needs to be that. If you look at some of the highest achievers in the world, whether it's Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos or anything like that, they're not exactly warm and cuddly people. They're not the best leaders in the world. You don't let them near your people, but they have this ferocity. They have this attitude of making things happen. With Bezos with his rockets up to space and this sort of thing, and same for Musk. They're pretty abrasive people in lots of ways. Could they be softer, more cuddly? Maybe, but they're definitely ferocious. You don't want to upset and cross these guys. And people who are high achievers, they have this. They demonstrated as well. So yeah, it's a honey badger. The honey badger syndrome, I think, is the key. And then number 6, and we'll go for some questions in a second or two, but it's really, I just got grit. And there's a fabulous book on this by a lady called Angela Duckworth. I recommend it. This one is the screenshot of the audio book. But the power of passion and perseverance, grit, digging in, doing what's tough, doing the work you don't like to do, doing the hard yards, doing the stuff you've got to do to make things happen, and having that grit and determination to do it. One of the I think one of the definitions of grit is that it's the difference between enthusiasm and endurance. And again, doing what I do, I see lots of people who want to start their own business or become entrepreneurs or be successful or high achieve, huge amounts of enthusiasm. You can bottle it, you can sense it, you can taste it, but enthusiasm isn't enough. Yes, you have to be enthusiastic, but that evaporates really quick. When the going gets tough, enthusiasm really disappears real quick. You can't just have enthusiasm. You need this endurance. We're in the long run, and people who are successful and high achievers recognize this, that we're in the long game here. There's an interesting image, you may have seen it, where people are saying, what does success look like, and achievement? You've got this iceberg where you've got what you see is above the waterline, and it's success, achievement, and all this sort of thing. But what you don't see is below the waterline, where it's all the hard yards, all the failures, all the upsets, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the thinking you want to quit and go away and it's too hard. We don't see that side of people, but I can guarantee everybody, and I guess everybody on this call included, in your own careers, your own lives, your own backgrounds, that success comes at a price. And the fact that you're here on this call suggests, to me at least, you're obviously successful anyway, looking for some tips and ideas. It's only unsuccessful people who don't attend the webinars, if you like. But really, what life has been like. And I know some of you got some really well, that you've had ups and downs and sideways in your life and your career, and you get through it. But it's this sort of grit, this determination to keep going. It's passion and perseverance. Love what you do, but then really push through. I remember when we came back from the US, and we sat we had a house then down in Metz, which is about 40 minutes south of here, and we wanted to rekindle our business on a stronger footing, still living in France. And we sat here, we said, well, what do we do now? Ideally, thinking about it, those who know me well, I don't speak French that well. I can get by just about. So the sensible thing to do would be go back to the UK and start our business over there, get it going, and then come back over to here when we got it stabilized and everything was good. Lynn, however, said, well, I'm not going back. She said, if you go back, you're going by yourself. Now, that wasn't tempting at all. I didn't think about it while we're being recorded, just so you know. I didn't even consider that as an option, just so everybody's aware. Anyway, we said, what we'll do, and Lynn called the house we had was painted white. We called the house the Alamo. This is it. We're going to make this thing work. Whatever it takes, we're going to make it work. It's like, okay, we're going to dig in as a team, as a pair, as a team, as a group, and make this thing work. And it was quite tough, and as it is for everybody starting in business, with all the networking we had to do, the traveling we had to do, the marketing, the websites, all the stuff we had to do. And then you do get to the point where you think, is it really worth it? Is this ever going to happen? Are we going to break through this? And after it was about 6 months, I think it was, of doing this, meeting people and doing all the stuff we knew that we should be doing. It didn't seem to be quite working. I remember saying to Lynn, are we going to do this? Are we on the right track? And I went to a networking event, a little presentation up in Luxembourg, and a guy there who's still connected with now, this is going back, 10, 11 years ago now. And he's in the audience, and he said, can we have a coffee together? That's all it was. Can we have a coffee? It was like, okay, this sounds interesting. He said, look, like your style, like what you do, like your storyboard, like the content, could you put that together for my team at one of the big banks in Luxembourg? I said, yeah, absolutely. So we put a program together for him and his senior management team, all about development, all this sort of thing, ran it over 12 months for them. That was our big break. And it's like, wow, this stuff does work. Then you breathe a little bit of sigh of relief. You know, wow, okay, that's a break. And after that, of course, it starts to grow and grow, starts to snowball. And I always think back to that. If we hadn't had that conversation, how much perseverance would we have had? Now, it's money in the bank account if you got to fund these things, but grit and determination, belief in ourselves and yourselves, I think is absolutely key. There is a point where people I've seen where they don't quit. They don't change direction rather than don't quit. That's always dangerous. But quitting too soon, always a danger. And grit and determination, digging in, doing what it takes, whatever it takes, get on with it, stop complaining, all those sort of things is a real trait of successful people. Again, you're doing what I do, and there are people on the call here because we're connected, maybe we're working together, whatever it is. By definition, you've got this sort of grit, otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you do. But I think for people who want to grow and develop their careers, their jobs, their lifestyles, their businesses, if you haven't got grit and that determination, it becomes increasingly difficult. So those are my 6 tips. You've got recommendations. There's book recommendations on there as well. Have a look at the books as we go along. But what we'll do now is I'll open it up. I'll go for any questions. What I'm going to do is, if it's okay, I'm going to sort of undo the PowerPoint and go back onto the screen so I can see everybody, and you can ask any questions a bit more relaxed as we go along. Before I do that, if you would like to have a conversation with me, there's always a pitch on these things, is you'd like to have a coffee with me, a real coffee, a virtual coffee, to talk about what we do, the programs we run, how we help people. There's no pressure. Have a coffee with me, drop me a note. Here's my email address, and we'll hook up, have a conversation. Then that will be great. Nice to be able to see some real people as well. So if you want to have a chat with me about our programs and products, drop me an email, drop me a message, and we'll book a time into the diary. That's the pitch done for now. You're quite set. That's all it is. So questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the PowerPoint. So end the show, which should come back to this. And then we're back in the room and I can see everybody together now. Oh, Mr. Canton is here, my favorite author from the UK. Hello, sir. I didn't see you creep in there. Good to see you. So everybody, Amandeep, look at that. The cute on there as well. How cute is that? Good to see. So for anybody on the call now, if you don't ask any questions, I will pick on you. But anyway, any questions from what we've gone through this afternoon? First of all, did it make sense? Did it make any sense? You recognize yourself in that? So Bridget, yeah, you recognize yourself. So Bridget, could you go on? I'll pick on you as you moved. So just out of interest, what did you recognize in yourself? Because I think is a common trait. So if you just unmute yourself, there we go.
Hey, I recognize it in my, can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you loud and clear.
Okay.
Excellent.
I recognize it myself because I've been job searching. I've recently got a new position. I'm really glad about that. So
good for you.
Just like the grit and determination and like all the rejections, I applied over 300 jobs. And
wow.
Just being grit and being informed, and I see that in myself. So I find I have a lot of application to that.
Fantastic. But the job hunting can be really sort of soul destroying.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Exactly right. I think everybody, we've all been there. The reason that I we started our own business is mainly because I'm unemployable. I decided. Yeah. I think we get to a point in our careers, maybe for a lot of us will recognize this pattern where we are unemployable. Therefore, we have to go and run our own business, else we're going to sort of live in a box.
Yeah.
But well done you. So that was great. You recognize that for yourself. Okay, fabulous. Anybody else? Anybody else recognize any traits in there for themselves that resonated at all? Richard, you're nodding as well. Go on, sir. Jump in. Oh, you're muted, sir. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. I think grit is probably me in a nutshell. I started, as you know, in 1997 doing this thing full time. Yeah. We went through one bankruptcy in 2010. We went through many coups and many business turnovers, yet we're still here, still remaining and still growing passionately and still there. And I look at it and I think many people would have, and I should have probably quit many times before, but because of the grit and determination and the belief in what I've got, is I'm still here and doing well. And I think that for me, that power of passion, power of perseverance, that grit and determination, above all, even if not having that knowledge, I'll find that knowledge. I think that for me, probably the number one thing that I got from today is that when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's me in a nutshell, right? That one right there.
Perfect. But also, do you find, and Jen, I think for everybody here as well, it shows when people love what they do. You know, I mean that. I don't mean that. I love what I do. You know, I'm not going to, but I think I do. I get up. I don't have a day job. I work with people. I love it. I absolutely do. So when it gets tough, if I didn't love what I did, I'll have that level of enjoyment. I'd probably quit a lot quicker. But I sense for you, and I know other martial artists as well, there's a real passion there for what you do, isn't there?
I think there really is. And I think having that passion and that purpose, when I started working with you as well, for a long time, we were talking about what's your passion, what's your purpose, what's your why. And if you understand that passion, purpose, and why, I think the grit and determination comes from that. And especially like now, like you're laughing, and why do I do what I do now is because I would hate to go and try and find another job, because I know I'm unemployable. I know I'm a pain in the butt. I know I'm hard work. I know I'm all those things. So I've got to make this work, because otherwise no one would employ me. And just having that understanding, but being able to network in places like this, and with Lou, I saw Lou on with Nest and stuff like that, and having those guys and having that network and those like-minded people to be able to bounce off is so important. Because, you know, when I left my first association, I went very insular and just thought, no, I'm not going to trust anyone anymore. I'm not going to trust anyone. Yeah. And then I was able to reach out to Lou, reach out to Gerard, reach out to yourself, and reach out to a lot of the other guys, and actually open myself up to the learning and the growing of this type of community. And it rekindled my passion for for knowledge and the understanding of wanting to grow more. And then with my dogged determination and grit, I was then able to push through and be able to build what I wanted to build.
And you've got to give your book a quick plug, because it's great. Just go on, give it a quick plug. Go on, I dare you.
My book is called The Perfect 10.
There you go.
It's by me.
Yeah,
Richard
there you
Canton.
go. It's a work of genius by Richard Canton.
And it's got a beautiful foreword by Mr. David Holland, MD.
Oh, I didn't realize. I forgot about that. No.
What it's about is 10 life lessons that I had to learn the hard way as a kid growing up in Australia and in business, and had to implement that we didn't get taught in school. So it's 10 life lessons that there is swearing, there is all that sort of stuff. I just shoot from the hip and say it how it is. So
you're Australian. It's compulsory. You're Australian. We accommodate that. It's good.
Good on you, mate.
Richard, thank you. It's a joy.
Thank you, David.
Okay, my pleasure. So any questions? Anybody got any questions or thoughts or anything you want me to sort of run through again or explain that didn't quite make sense? I will pick on people. We've got a little bit of time yet, so I'm still going to pick on people. I'm looking at people. Stephanie, you smiled then. Stephanie, could I pick on you? Would you mind? Stephanie's thinking, oh no.
My accent is not as good as the other speakers.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Absolutely. So, Stephanie, where are you based? Where are you calling in from?
Luxembourg.
In Luxembourg. Oh, okay. Center of the universe, as some of us are as well. So we've got Cloudy. There's a few people on there. So yeah. What did you take away? Anything that sort of resonated with you particularly?
Oh yeah. The fact that you said that passion was great, but it wasn't enough. That grit is really what we need to go on. Yeah.
And what do you do? What's your role? What's your business role?
After 17 years in digital projects in banks, I just left to build my own business, which is still going to be about digitalization, but in a whole other sector.
Excellent. So you decided you're unemployable as well now, like the rest of us. This is great. Good. Well, thank you for excellent. Well, thank you for joining the group. And generally, the people who are on here, for everybody, from a network perspective, this is a pretty cool gang to be sort of associated with. Make sure you connect and say hi and hello and collaborate and that sort of thing as well. So, but anyway, Stephanie, welcome. Thank you for coming on the call. Anybody else? Who can I pick on? Who have I got on here? It's on the, I've got two screens as well. So who have we got on the other screen? Daniel Biggs. Daniel, are you there, sir? He's gone. Did you see that?
I'm here, Dave.
There you are. Good to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. All is fine. So where explain, where are you based for everybody on the call? Where are you based?
Yeah, well, I'm in Saskatchewan in Canada, which is in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
And it's a very cold place to be a lot of the year.
I bet it is. Yeah. Well, there's Ken, who's also in Canada as well. Hi, Ken. So maybe you guys will make each other a coffee or something. So great to see you on the call. Welcome aboard. Anything particularly sort of resonate with you from your perspective?
Actually, I do have a question, Dave, to be honest. Really great presentation so far. But the question I had was the carving out the time to put in a strategy and really be purposeful. I mean, we hear these buzzwords a lot of the time, but to really actually do those things when you're fighting the whirlwind is my biggest challenge. I'd be interested if you have any ideas on that.
I think the time is always the biggest limitation for all of us, I think. I can give my personal perspective, but I'll throw it open to the rest of the group. We've got the top people in the world on here. What I found, or what I see, is that too many busy people do it all themselves. They don't delegate, they don't achieve any leverage with other people around them or whatever it is. Now, I've been very lucky, as everybody knows, I have a lady called Lynn who does all the hard work in my business, but she looks after the operations side, the invoicing, the diaries, everything that goes with it, and all the things we have to do, enables me to do what I believe I do best. So what we did, we literally carved up a job spec for each other, and John and other people in our team. There's about 5 or 6 people in the team, and we have a job spec. My job spec is literally, I'm allowed to do coaching, training, marketing, and selling. That's it, nothing else. Everything else that the business does, whether it's travel, whether it's compliance, somebody else does it, which was a big cost when we first started out to build a team, but it enabled me to do what I do, and I delegated to other people or allowed them to do their best work. So, I've got a couple of clients who've got a virtual PA, for example, nobody in the office with them, that looks after their diary, looks after their emails and this sort of thing. Frees up a huge amount of time. So for me, and I think it's leverage, it's delegation, invest in somebody to help you out. But it's a very common challenge that people face. I'll throw it open. Anybody else? Any tips, ideas on getting some time back for Daniel over there?
Mentioned a whirlwind, and
Kev, yeah, there we go.
So he mentioned the whirlwind, and the whirlwind appears because we have a challenge or a problem. And then we'll get round to that. And then another challenge or problem comes in, and then another challenge. And the next thing, you've got all these things looping around in your brain. Yeah. And the whirlwind just picks up speed. It just picks up, but you never get around to doing anything because you're procrastinating over what to do. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is just reach into the whirlwind, grab one thing, pull it out, fix it, put it back into the whirlwind, and start slowing things down. Mm-hmm. So I would say set yourself up a 2-hour day, 7 till 9 in the morning, grab something and fix that. Focus on 2 hours of just fixing one thing, mm-hmm. and then just watch your day start picking up. That makes sense.
Fabulous advice. Excellent. Thank you. Cheers, Kev. Excellent. Good job.
Dave, I found time by turning my phone off.
Exactly. Yes.
Turning my phone
social
off,
media as well. Yeah.
Turning my phone off, getting off social media, not answering emails. And if I've got things that I need to do, is the world will not stop rotating. It'll carry on turning, and it doesn't matter if there was a problem at 9 o'clock, there'll be a problem at 10 o'clock. So like Kev says, if you're going to start looking at a problem at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you can do it between 9 and 10 o'clock. It doesn't matter when you do it. Just make time to switch everything else off and just focus on that one thing that you need to do. I found that by turning my phone off, even on weekends, if there's an email that comes in on a Friday night at 11 o'clock, I don't have to answer it because I can't do anything about it. It can wait till Monday. Doesn't matter. So just turn your phone off, turn your emails off.
Great advice. Thanks, Anton. Ken, I think you put your hand up. I think.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that for me, it's always been about finding time to work on the business as opposed to in, because you get sucked into the day-to-day and the whirlwind, and you need to pull back and create that time, because you're not taking that fire extinguisher and putting it at the base. You're just blowing the flames, right? So that's always been good for me, and it's going to take my own advice today.
Perfect. Yeah, good job. Thanks, Ken. Stephanie, did you I sensed you flinched. That was no. Okay, sorry. I thought you moved. I'm not going to pick on you again. You're quite safe. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes left. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, observations, or questions for me or for anybody else?
I think from if I can, Frank.
Yeah. Hi, Frank.
So I think one of the most critical things is to find the starting point to do something. So this is I was thinking about a long time. So what's the right time? And then I discovered to myself maybe the right answer is it's now when it is. And what is really funny today during this call, I discovered I'm already in and part of this journey, because what you said, what your planning was a couple of years ago. So the target of what I want to achieve is today I do the custom and tax globally in Bellevue and Borges, but finally I want to be working on my own. That's my target. Yeah. But what you said, what your planning was, I did something very similar. So my plan was to buy a beautiful house with a big garden, up country, and I want to live in France. I did both last year during COVID times. So this is for me something very, 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 very. It makes me very happy to see I'm in already. So I don't need to look longer for the starting point.
No,
so
exactly. Yep.
Good, and I think that's also to everybody. It's an experience saying if you are thinking about you want to change something, you are already in. So I think this is something. The starting point is done. And another point I would like to touch is it's very, very interesting if you find your some kind of self-confidence. If you manage your own personality, your environment is recognizing that. That is very, very interesting. So if once you see they recognize something is going on with you, then you're on the right way. So I think this is also a very important part.
Absolutely. They're the great points. And I think just out of interest, did you get any sort of criticism or by buying a house during lockdown, during COVID? Because people thought we were crazy. We're insane buying a house on lockdown. Any feedback like that for you?
Everybody told me I would be crazy, and I said, why not? So this is something, the competition is not so high at the moment, so you can do everything. So yes.
I thought it was
very well fun.
But
so
I think
it was already a challenge, of course. So,
absolutely.
No? Others would have said, no, not wait until it's over. No, so.
Absolutely. I thought it was the perfect time to buy because, as you said, nobody else was buying. So guess what?
Exactly.
It was a perfect time to buy. But I think this again comes back to one of the traits, I think, of successful high achievers, like everybody on the call, pretty much, is that they just do stuff when they've got to get on with it. They don't find all the excuses and reasons. They go, we're going to do it. And they do listen to other people, but they have that determination. It's back to the honey badger, I think, as well. So excellent, good, great story. And in fact, we only met, it was about a week and a half ago. We had a street barbecue. Thank you for organizing. It was fabulous. So welcome to the gang. Okay, so anybody else, any thoughts? Amandeep, how cool is just look at Amandeep there, if you can see, with Ranveer in his arms. Is he asleep now? Is he asleep? He is. I'm not going to ask you to unmute and make a noise, bless him, but he's awake. Look at that. Fantastic.
Maybe one remark to Daniel from Regina.
Yeah.
You won't believe I have been a couple of times in Regina 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, there we go.
Nobody goes there, but I have done so. No?
It's what a small world this is. What a small world. It's great, isn't it? Okay. So, Daniel, did that help? I know there's some interesting points there, but the whirlwind and everything like that, any tips you can take away?
That's great. That was really helpful. I've got some good takeaways here I will be implementing.
Fabulous. Okay. Good. So before I wrap it up and close it down, any other thoughts, questions, observations? Everybody enjoyed it. I mean, I think it's fabulous you've jumped on the call with us. Claudia, thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Vicky, hi there. And Julian, I'm seeing the people pop up my screen. I can see Sandrine driving. Look at that. I'm not going to ask her to don't participate. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Stefan's driving. Hi, Stefan. So look at that mobile. It's coming back from Switzerland, I think it is, but there we go. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope it's been of interest. Let me just pause the recording now.